Control
Well, I told Screencastify about my problem with the audio, that I can't, like right now, I can't go to another tab. The audio on this tab will kick out. It will only record the audio in that, and they were kind of puzzled. They said, you just put it on desktop, and I said, yeah, I tried that. That doesn't work.
Do you actually show with your phone camera or your smartphone or tablet camera, whatever it is, to show that problem in question?
What?
Alright, let me start it.
What?
Excuse me.
Well, I'm on I'm not.
You know. Excuse me.
The all-in-one.
I choked on my own saliva for a second.
I think Abdul is like, he's dying here. He's going on about Spotify. He's fucking choking to death.
I know.
No, I was just saying, Barbara, when you went on to Screencastify, or when you contacted them, did you actually show a video snapshot or actual camera screenshot to show the problem in question?
No, I explained the problem. They understood, but they were puzzled.
Oh.
I don't know. They didn't understand. I didn't have this. Remember, Scott, we used to do videos, and I would show things on another tab when I was using the old software Linux. Not a problem, and then suddenly it didn't work, and I got the same problem with Screencastify, so I can't show anything in another tab. I can just say, just shut up. Everybody shut up, and then I'll show it, and then we'll talk about it, and that's all. Oh, Scott, I'm also wearing your mom's shorts today in her honor. her men's size medium cut off sweat shorts is what I'm wearing.
You're wearing the Mickey Mouse shorts?
Mickey Mouse shorts. It's the Mickey Mouse.
The faded Mickey shorts?
Yeah, you can't see Mickey. Here's Mickey. I like the men's size medium is what my mom wears.
And apparently what you wear.
Now, I just wear them around the apartment. It's fine. It's my sexy shorts.
She's wearing one of the shirts you gave. Right now, she's wearing one of the shirts you gave me, but there was too small. We have 3X. It was small.
They look all right on her.
It's like a boo-boo.
It looks all right. I think it's giant, but she wears it well. She can pull it off.
Did you upgrade your camera recently, Scott? Did you upgrade your camera recently?
No, what I did was I downgraded the.
Alright.
I had to reinstall Skype, and I think the image is better because it's a.
Because I've noticed a frame rate improvement on your camera.
Right.
Because it's really smooth. It's not smooth now. My laptop comes a hunk of junk, to be honest. But yeah, I'm noticing a frame rate improvement when I'm watching you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I've set the recording settings down a little bit, and I've got a better Skype thing here. I can make it bigger. I didn't realize I could do that. I can actually make my image bigger and just put it. Yeah. Take Abdul's image completely out.
You could do that if you want, but I advise against tinkering with settings now. Otherwise, anything could go haywire in all honesty.
So what are we talking about?
Yeah, it is better. Yeah, the image. So that's Skype. Yeah, last time we talked, Skype wasn't working.
Not properly.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's recording okay. I think it is.
So what are we talking about, guys? Today. I wanted to ask you, Abdul, sitting over there in the United Kingdom, what's going on with Theresa May? What's going on? Is she left yet?
She's officially left, and apparently there's going to be a prime minister race. And so far, there's been a few names being mentioned, like Michael Gove. And from what I'm seeing, people are joking about is crack cocaine history.
Yeah, yo.
In England?
Yep. It's like, who's going to be the most shit-faced Prime Minister?
Didn't that also happen in Canada? Wasn't there a guy named Ford in
Yeah,
Canada?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. No, there was one person, but...
Doug Ford is his brother, and he's the premier of the province of Ontario. Was it Doug Ford? I'm getting the Ford brothers. What was it?
It was a fat guy. He was.
Yeah. Hang on, I'm going to ask Jake real quick.
The fat Ford? That just sounds a bit wrong.
Jake!
I thought our political system was screwed. You guys got crackheads running your
Yeah,
I think Jake is sleeping. Sorry. He's taking a nap.
I can't hear you because the good ear is down on the pillow.
Come to think of it, I'd rather have crackheads than child molesters.
It probably is. Yeah, he can't hear. Yeah. Anyway, I forget. I got the... Doug Ford is the brother of the guy who was a drug addict. I can't remember the Ford brothers' names. I'm going blank. I can't remember. Yeah.
So who else is running in the prime minister race? You guys don't elect a prime minister. You elect a party, and the party elects the prime minister.
Yeah, that's how it works. And I've also been hearing about Boris Johnson being in the race, but not much has been materialised of that so far. So literally is just this is barely starting off at the moment.
So she's still prime minister.
Basically, for what I can tell, but the reports have been saying that she's officially left now. So the party's kind of in limbo in that regard.
Yeah, she was going to. I know it was going to be effective early June.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's probably going. Yeah.
But she
So she
promised
went-
to stay in power. She stay in office until somebody else was brought along. I thought when she announced, she'd say she.
Not the case. Not the case, from what I can tell.
Good. Well, good. There you go. You guys are a rudderless ship with no captain sailing on the seas. You have no prime minister.
Yeah.
They have a queen. They have a queen.
Yeah.
Queen.
They have a queen. She's the head of state. She's the head of state.
Yeah, so that doesn't matter all that much, really. After all, Theresa May did say she serves the Queen. So there's that angle. What else do you want to put on the political chopping board?
So what else is going on? So we got Brexit coming up, and that's going to be what, October 31st. It's Halloween. You're gonna
Yeah, if it ever happens.
you think it'll happen?
I think they're just taking the mickey, to be honest with you, to the point that I don't think it may actually happen. That's just my thought, though. I do hope I'm wrong, but with the way it's going, it wouldn't surprise me if it's right, if it actually does become true, and that it just doesn't happen. Because it did happen to, I think, Ireland also had some referendums as well, and that was reversed on the second vote, I believe. I can't remember which one it was, but they did have a referendum. So.
Well, they had a referendum about joining the EU, didn't they? And they voted against it. And then they just made some bullshit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So, but I don't think it's exactly to do with leaving the EU. I think it's something to do with one of the treaties. Because I think they were already in the EU at the time. But it's definitely one of the treaties. I just can't remember which one.
Well, what else is going on in the world we want to talk about?
There's a good.
I'm going blank now. Shoot. God.
You guys are lively today.
Yeah.
Well, is the yellow vest thing still taking place? I heard this is like the 30th week, right?
Yeah. it's still kind of on, but it's not being mentioned as much as it was last year. So there's that.
Sure.
Then there's the US and Iran as well.
Yeah.
That's still pretty messy in that regard.
Yeah. You think that's going to be an actual fighting war?
I hope not. I actually hope not. Because that's the last thing anyone needs, in all honesty. But, saying that though, it might happen. It might happen, but I'm not sure when. I'm still 50-50 in that, in terms of the predictions in regards to whether it'll happen or not.
What do you think, Pete?
I think it'll just drag out into more sanctions. They'll just drag out the sanctions. I mean, that's the way they wage war now, with sanctions.
Yeah, more.
There might be the odd incident, but I don't know. It would really take a lot. Israel would really have to stage some sort of false flag or something.
Another Olympic event?
Yeah, but Iran is it's a much bigger country. That's a big country.
It is. It's literally next door to Pakistan, believe it or not.
And even the European countries, they're not on board with. They don't like the sanctions. They don't.
No. There's growing distrust in that regard.
China and Russia. So, I mean, if they think there's going to be a hot war, a real war, that's just insanity.
There was a quote that I read someplace, I forget where it was, and it was somebody from the military-industrial complex. It was some military planner or somebody talking at one of these talks they give, and he was saying, yeah, the war is a great way to make money for the military industries, but the threat of war is also a great way to make money.
Yeah.
For the industries. And so I did a video about a week or so ago talking about Elizabeth Warren, hopping up and down, screeching about, we're about to go to war, about to go to war. We're talking about to go to war. All that does is make the military-industrial complex money. Just promoting the idea that we're going to go to war helps make them, because that helps justify pumping more money from Congress and from the national coffers into the next military budget.
Yeah.
So I personally don't think there's any way in hell, especially after the fiascos we've had in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, and after those, there's no way in hell they're going to actually get into a shooting war with Iran. But they do want a big chunk of Iran for the Greater Kurdistan project. So my guess is, like you guys talked about, sanctions, continuing to step up the pressure on Iran and try to force a regime change, the kind they got in Brazil with
Bolsonaro.
What's the guy's name?
Bolsonaro.
Yeah. Hopefully they're going to try to do it that way, and they're not going to stage some kind of color revolution. But Hillary Clinton, she tried with the election. She tried to establish a green revolution and a color revolution in Iran. So you never know. They might.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be a shooting war. Hopefully not.
But it's still pretty nasty as to what's going to come months down the line.
Yeah.
And forecasting that isn't always going to be an easy thing, because you never know what the plans will be or what the outcomes will be.
Plus, you have different interests who are calling the shots, and some who are trying to do it on their, calling shots and coming up with schemes on their own. So
yeah,
you never know. Some of these guys are just flat out crazy. I mean, Mike Pompeo, John Bolton.
Yeah, those two psychotic weirdos.
Yeah, they're psychotics. So God knows what the fuck they're coming up with.
Of course.
So you just cross our fingers and hope, but there you go. Yeah, so I run across some interesting. There's a video somebody posted a link to my recent video on Assange and his, which will probably come down now. I didn't realize RT said you can't use the video. But there's an interesting video. Two guys sitting around talking about some history. It's made in 2017 about some of the history of Julian Assange, and it was some interesting stuff that I found there. And I don't think that they really touched on it. I'm going to do it tomorrow in a video.
Oh, okay.
But I never really understood why it was that the Obama administration decided to act as if they were going to prosecute or seek to prosecute Assange, but they never did. And everyone nowadays talks about how Donald Trump has gone forward and he's going to prosecute and he's got these 18 charges and blah, 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 blah. It's the first time. But Obama he walked up to that line, but he wouldn't cross it. And it never occurred to me why he didn't cross it. But now I know. And the trick is, you have to look at when, what's his face? His attorney general, the African American guy, tall guy, Holder?
Oh, Eric Holder, yeah.
Eric Holder. When he announced that they were going to prosecute everybody involved in these leaks in November of 2011. And it was 10 days in August, or November 30th. It was 10 days after November 20th when the country of Sweden issued an arrest warrant, international arrest warrant for Julian Assange. That was a year after he allegedly had intercourse with these two girls who were asleep. He was partying with them that night, fooling around with them. Rape, basically. And he had been hiding in this billionaire's mansion for about a year, and they decided to go ahead and prosecute him in Sweden. And immediately after that, 10 days after that, we have the announcement from Holder that everyone involved was going to be prosecuted. And that's when they decided, okay, we got to give this guy some kind of asylum someplace. But you can't give him, because he's an asset, you can't give him asylum for rape. That doesn't look good for the country. That doesn't look good for anyone. Right? You can't be defending a rapist, but you can defend a journalist who's being abused or going to be abused by some other country like the United States. So in order to give Ecuador cover and allow them to put Assange up in the embassy and keep him out of the hands of the Swedes, they announced that they're going to arrest and charge and prosecute everyone involved, and that's what gave them the justification to say they thought Julian Assange was going to be prosecuted by the United States. He would be extradited from Sweden back to the United States. That's why they did that.
Yeah.
So I never really understood why they had done that without actually prosecuting or just threatening to prosecute until I looked at the timing of it. That's a good video. The link is in the comments section in my video, today's video down below.
I haven't watched it yet. Yeah.
It's about an hour and 40 minutes, but it's worth watching. There's a lot of good information on him.
Yeah.
The guys really aren't dynamic to listen to, but there's some really good information there. If you have a chance, check it out.
Definitely will do.
Yeah, but another thing that they showed in there was he directly quoted, who is that CIA guy back in the 60s who was in Canada and taking college freshmen, women mostly, and running experiments on them. He was CIA mind control guy. You know that.
In Montreal. He was a doctor. Yeah, he was a doctor.
Yeah.
Did you know that at one point in time when he was giving an interview, Julian Assange quoted something that guy said, basically about verbatim, without giving him credit, as if it was his own thought. But it was word for word, line for line, like 3 sentences, talking basically about there is no real right and wrong. Everything is only as the individual perceives right and wrong.
Yeah.
Now I thought that was interesting because that guy abused fucking women
Oh, yeah.
That CIA asset abused fucking women for the CIA, and this guy Assange was charged with or accused of abusing women.
Yeah.
And he didn't even recognize. He didn't even give the dude credit for the line. He just spouted it out there, and it was word for word, line for line. Again, that's in that video. I strongly recommend watching it if you have a chance.
I know that case because they actually on the CBC here, they did a documentary. There was a woman whose mother was one of the victims. Yeah. And I think they had to settle some case or something with her. I forget over that or something, yeah.
Yeah. And Naomi Klein, say what you will about her nowadays, but she opened up her book. I think she talked a great deal in depth about that doctor and the mind control experiments up in Canada, because she's Canadian too, right?
Yeah, her parents were American. She has dual citizenship, but she's born and raised in Canada.
Right. Yeah. But in her book, Shock Doctrine, she talks about that case quite a lot.
Yeah. MK Ultra, I believe, is the name for that mind control program. MK Ultra. I think so. MK yeah.
Ultra.
Because that was one of the.
There were others.
Like monarch programming and stuff like that.
Yeah, I always thought it was interesting that they did that in Canada. It seems that they can get away with stuff like that in Canada more easily. I'm not kidding. Yeah. They used Canada as a little testing ground. In fact, there's the October crisis in 1970. I've heard it was a test for 9/11 because there was nationwide martial law.
I'm not familiar with it, but
no.
Well, it was when Justin's daddy was prime minister in 1970. So there was Quebec separatist terrorist groups, and supposedly they kidnapped a couple of. One was a British diplomat, the other was a Quebec provincial minister, and he got killed. And Justin's daddy, Pierre, invoked the War Measures Act, which is basically martial law. So there was martial law nationwide in Canada, and they were just picking up people off the streets and holding them indefinitely. Yeah.
What year was
it? 1970, and I'm going to do a video about that because I didn't realize that it was they think it might have been a false flag and sort of a dress rehearsal for 9/11. Yeah.
That sounds pretty sinister.
Yeah, martial law, yeah, because people were just picked up if you happen to know somebody or whatever, suspected of anything. Just knowing somebody, then you're picked up off the street. Yeah. And they have a really bad feeling about Trudeau in Quebec. I don't know how long it went on. I don't know all the details. But I'm going to do a video about that because the Quebec national holiday is coming up. And I mentioned it in my video last year. And I just noticed that reference to it possibly being a false flag attack. And as a dress rehearsal for something like 9/11. I'm going, oh, that's interesting. So I'm going to dig into that more.
You should.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of people know that. That's for sure. Because we did hear. Because we did hear a lot of the pre-9/11 events, mainly from a US sort of perspective. So I think that would be an ideal idea for a new video.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find much information, but I'm going to see. I just saw it mentioned in passing when I did that video last year, and I thought, well, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
There's a lot of information that's not literally out in the open.
I have to ask, are you guys like turning into such winos? You just have like empty bottles of liquor laying around on the floor behind you while you're doing videos?
Yeah.
Water. Water. not fizzy soda, just fizzy water this time round.
It's fun. It's fun. Hang on.
Yep, she has.
Going full wino. I like it.
They're empty. They're empty. They're just nice bottles. I'll throw them out eventually.
What's on your right hand? What is that? Is that a port?
This is a bottle of port. A different type from you have a bottle, but this is a different. It's a sweet dessert. Yeah. It's just kind of an interesting bottle.
It looks exotic. That bottle looks exotic, I should say.
It looks like the bottle from Leave It. What was that? My Genie. What was that fucking TV show?
Oh yeah, I Dream of Genie. Yeah, that's what it is. It is an interesting bottle, isn't it? Yeah. I can still. Huh. Nice.
Nice.
It is very nice indeed.
So, I'm dying to know, did you lose any weight while you were fasting?
Not really. Not really.
Do you gain weight?
I think I'd stay the same, to be honest with you. I was literally shot dead.
How long do you fast? How long do you fast?
From dawn to sunset, basically. So that's how long the fasts are.
Just for one day, or
the whole month?
The whole month.
30 days, yeah. 29 to 30 days, depending on the moon sighting.
Did you gain weight?
I told you, I think I stayed the same. I didn't gain much if I did gain anything.
You're standing there looking at the sun dropping down with a kid.
No, I just crashed to sleep. That's pretty much all I've done. Oh, besides personal stuff, but yeah, that's all I've done.
What do you eat at the end of the day to break the fast?
Dates, fruits. Sometimes eat the odd samosa here and there.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So is it finished, or are you still doing it?
I'm finished. It's finished now, so I'm literally back in business now. So to speak.
Good.
Did you party?
Not much. No, I didn't do that. Any of that. To be honest with you.
Is there like a celebration when the
there is. It usually starts off with the Eid prayer, and then everyone starts meeting each other and greeting each other. So that's all I've done, really.
Oh, that's cool. That's nice.
Thank you.
Eid Mubarak.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I wouldn't be a Muslim for very long.
I wouldn't blame you.
I'd be under Muslim orientation. Okay, you, Mr. Creighton. Okay, we have this fasting program. I'm out.
Give me a hot dog.
Take the time. I gotta fast.
I honestly don't blame you.
I got a thing right now. Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
I take a hot dog out of my pocket and be eating it on the way out the door.
Oh, good hot
dog. All beef. It's gotta be all beef, though.
I got a thing with the Scientologist in about 15 minutes. I gotta run. They'll let you eat whatever you can afford. Just take all your fucking money. So, what else is in the news right now? Oh, YouTube, the big fucking apocalypse.
Oh yeah, Vox Apocalypse. What a farce that.
Yeah, well, this started actually in January. Where they were going to
it did.
Marginalize channels and videos with the algorithms, and I didn't know they were cutting it made sense. The new blog article said that they've cut view counts in half or something for certain channels, and I noticed, my view counts were really.
They have, and they're also trying to abbreviate view counts as well, and the subscriber counts.
Yes.
And they're trying to obviously crack down political content. They've made it more obvious now.
They're cracking down on political content. They're also cracking down on like the quartering, which is a game channel.
Yeah.
CNET went after them. trying
Which
to get
channel,
basically
sorry?
the same thing. CNET, which is it's a website,
Yeah, technological.
a techie website. Right. And they apparently did some article 2-3 days ago talking about how angry the gaming community on YouTube was, so they should take certain games.
Yeah.
And the guy they picked on was a quartering, and he does a lot of game reviews and plays
Quartering,
games.
yeah.
Is that
I
yeah?
know that.
But he also
Yeah.
is political.
He does,
he
yeah.
does
They really don't like that. Like PewDiePie.
Yeah.
He's politically right wing, I believe. Well, or have those tendencies, but yeah. I watched some of his videos, and I'm not seeing anything that's offensive or wrong. But even then, they shouldn't be banning people willy-nilly just because some fruitcake decided to get all salty or use that as an excuse.
Not that there's anything wrong with being a fruitcake.
Well, I like fruitcakes. Just not ones that promote censorship. Oh, God.
I tried watching one of that guy's videos. What's his name? It's not Mark.
What?
Right. The guy who leveled the charge against.
Carlos Maza.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes by the hash. Goes by the
guy who's Carlos something.
Carlos Maza.
Oh, yeah.
They're fucking unwatchable. They're just unwatchable. And then you look at other Vox stuff, and it's all just establishment suckling
Yeah.
bullshit. They were attacking people who were in the anti-vaccine movement. They were, just pure fucking propaganda. And what I saw I did watch one of that Crowder,
Stephen Crowder.
He's also
He's Canadian. And he's Canadian.
And he's
too,
Canadian.
yeah.
And he's unwatchable Canadian.
Yeah.
But
Maple syrup, fruitcake.
he did mention something that I didn't know. And that was late last year sometime, or mid last year sometime,
Yeah.
YouTube and Google put out a new $20 million program for content creators who would produce, acceptable establishment type content. Vox was one of the two. So they got $10 million from fucking YouTube, and now Vox turns back and asks YouTube to take out Crowder. Because Crowder had some things, calling people fruitcakes and shit. But Vox is paid by fucking YouTube.
No kidding.
Vox is on that program, yeah.
No
They
kidding.
actually
It
showed
doesn't
a link to
surprise
their
me, to be
article.
honest.
There's a mainstream media article talking about it.
A lot of the gaming media don't like. A lot of the gaming folks don't like Polygon, which is linked to Vox Media, by the way, for such reasons as well. Alongside creating obvious strategy of tension between gamers and non-gamers in general.
Yeah. They just what they don't like is they don't like competition for the news media. They don't like competition because their viewership is going down.
No, they don't. And they're very militant in their beliefs, in a negative sort of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got quite a few new subs overnight, and that kind of surprised me. I was wondering, maybe there are some channels being taken out and people are kind of looking for... Yeah, I was really surprised.
It wouldn't
Yeah,
surprise
like,
me if that's the case, to be
Less
honest.
than 10. I mean, a lot for me. But less than 10, maybe 8 or something, which is a lot for me. Just,
Well, I went from
yeah, yours is jumped too. Yeah. yours
Yeah.
is
to
like-
1944 overnight.
Yeah. So I don't know. That was weird.
It's a glitch. YouTube will take them away pretty soon.
Yeah.
I know.
YouTube
yeah,
give it and YouTube take it away.
I had my first Debbie the Sane Progressive video had almost 3,000 views, and suddenly I looked and it was like half that, and going, what? How do you unwatch a video? What?
You can't unwatch.
Yeah.
Fishy.
YouTube, the numbers never make any sense. They just around.
Time to blame the Russians, BB.
What?
Time to blame it on the Russians.
What?
Time to blame it on the Russians, I say.
The Russians?
Time to blame it on the Russians, I say.
Yeah, Russians. I thought I heard Russian. Okay. Yeah.
But jokes aside, though, it's still fishy beyond belief.
So I don't know. I mean, it looks like YouTube is just gonna take out from the language that I showed in the video from their post. It looks like they're gonna take out anything and everything that challenges, any quote unquote violent events. It's
borderline.
Narrative.
I like that term, borderline.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything.
So I'm definitely borderline. Yeah.
So that makes me wonder if there's something on the horizon. Something coming down the pike pretty soon. Unfortunately.
An event.
Yeah, they said that they'll take out any. They specifically said they'll take out any videos that challenge the well-established version of violent events. They used, in one case, Auschwitz, the Holocaust, and 9/11. In another case, they used something in the Holocaust and Sandy Hook, and then 9/11 and Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
But that tells me that I get worried that another Vegas shooting thing might be in the near future sometime, because they really had a hard time covering up that.
Yeah, they did.
Really,
Sandy Hook to a lesser extent, but yeah.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder for them to cover things up. Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, too many people have caught on, and they at least question what's going on.
People are wisening up, which is a good thing, but that comes at the expense of literally full-blown blatant censorship, in all honesty. Even from mainstream outlets, even from outlets that we use bloody every day. Facebook and Twitter as well. You even see suspended accounts left, right and centre without any notification. Just because of one odd tweet that disagrees with the official story.
I've noticed a change in my sister, who was a Hillary Clinton supporter. She's retired, and I think because she has more time to kind of look at things and think about things, she doesn't disagree with me as much about the way I see things now. It's very interesting. Even my establishment sister is questioning things more.
Good.
So, yes.
That's a good thing.
But she'll still vote for and campaign for Joe Biden.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't gotten into that with her about Joe Biden.
Mr. Touchy Feely.
You think she'd be more inclined to support Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren?
Oh, probably Warren, I would guess. Yeah, I'm not saying she's gotten that far. She's just kind of coming along. It's very gradual.
It takes ages.
I'm getting along with her, and
That's good. Because the political stuff like this takes ages to overcome.
Yeah,
It didn't take
we
me.
kind of discussed Cuba some, and she thinks it's all hip and cool to go to Cuba, but she doesn't really get how. Unfortunately, they were opening Cuba up, but the problem is still have all the sanctions. So all that does, I noticed that people in Cuba, they start to question the system because they're starting to see and interact with the people, and they start to think that the Cuban government is to blame for any problems. That's what I realized. So I told my sister, it's fine to open up Cuba, but you have to take all the sanctions away. Otherwise, it becomes a regime change operation, and people don't understand. The people there don't understand what the problem is.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Obama reestablished relations and opened Cuba up for Americans to travel there, because he wanted the corporations to get in there, and but without removing sanctions.
Right. Well, he lifted some sanctions, didn't he?
Well, travel. I don't know. what else? He reestablished relations and lifted travel restrictions.
Didn't we have an embassy there? And weren't they saying that the cicadas were like some kind of...
Yeah, there's still... Yeah, I know. Yeah. There's still an embassy
noise
there.
and pack or some shit? Right.
Yeah, that was bullshit. But even the Canadian embassy, they're not issuing travel documents for Cubans to travel to Canada now because of that. They're saying, oh, we had to cut staff because they were getting injured by this sonic blast, which are just...
by the grasshoppers. Damn commie grasshoppers.
But it's really sad that even Canada is caving into the U.S. on that. Jeez. It's sad. And then the U.S. has cut travel on a couple of the categories. But I think that's just to discourage people. There's still so many categories you can still travel. You just give them you just say, oh, I'm traveling this way. You just go. I think it's to discourage people. Like, I realized I was just being discouraged from going to Cuba. I realized you just go. You say, okay, I'm a journalist. You just go.
Yeah.
Go.
No.
Did you guys remember when we talked about that NGO, Pueblos Sin Fronteras, if I said that correctly?
Yeah.
Busing people up to make that crisis on the at the fence on the border. Remember that?
Yeah.
What, 4 months ago, 5 months ago?
Yeah,
We talked specifically. Did you know they arrested the head of Pueblos Sin Fronteras in
was it
Mexico?
the head of that? Oh,
Yeah.
was it the head of that group? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Good.
it's the director. It's the guy who was taking the money from the fucking MacArthur Foundation and the Ford Foundation and Soros's
Open Society
Open
Foundation.
Society. Right.
Yeah.
It was that guy.
Was it? I didn't realize it was that.
Yeah. They arrested him staging that fucking shit.
It's human trafficking, and the Mexican government shut down those accounts that were going to the border
Right.
to finance that. It's human trafficking. Yeah, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And the money was coming from, let's see, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, the U.S., and UK.
Yeah.
That's where the money for that whole
Yeah.
human trafficking operation was coming from. Yeah.
Well, I was kind of pleased when I saw that they had arrested that guy from that organization.
Yeah.
Good riddance, they say.
Yep.
And now they're, because of the tariffs or something, the Mexican government is going to, they're going to send their National Guard to the border with, what is it, Honduras? I think. I forget which country. To
I don't
keep
know.
that, yeah. So there are going to be, they're clamping down on the,
Flow of immigrants from
Yeah.
from Central America. Yeah.
Right. That's good.
But it's of asylum. So yeah, I'm kind of reading closely their terminology. So they're going to stop asylum seekers from getting into the U.S. and Mexico, I guess. But I think you kind of pointed out. So they want to control. I would say they're going to allow, cheap labor to keep coming into the U.S. They'll just say, oh, you can't be an asylum seeker. But then they'll make sure that the working age adults, males, can get into. That's what I think. So that's why I'm reading very carefully the terminology that they use. Asylum seekers won't be allowed in. Yeah.
Double speak.
That's what
it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Would you see it the same way?
I think I would as well. I'd be skeptical of what the real motives of that would be, to be honest with you. Especially anything when it comes to immigration and stuff like that. Because they say they're gonna. People say that they want to bring refugees and all sorts. But the reality is, there's always an ulterior motive, especially when it comes to exploiting the suffering of the people for corporate and other sinister gains. at the expense of the people who've been displaced.
But that could be all part of its comprehensive immigration reform.
Yeah, well, just that and more
controlling
obviously.
the border more. I don't know.
Because speaking of that, Japan, according to reports, Japan said Shinzo Abe apparently said that Japan would rather focus on sovereignty, focus on its own people to help deal with fertility rates, rather than, bringing immigrants to bring up the population count to protect your sovereignty.
But don't the Japanese kind of have their own category of workers they bring in to exploit? I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
it's mono-ethnic, more or less. You do have the odd foreigner here and there to coming into Japan, but it's very much a mono-ethnic country.
Yeah. But there are, I think they let in maybe Filipinos, like I think it's in like for care as caregivers or in nursing or something. I don't know.
There's very few.
I don't know.
One thing I know for sure is they're definitely letting very few, if any. So they try their best to keep things tight and under control in that regard. And to be honest, I don't blame them, especially with how things can get out of hand in that aspect.
So Abdul, are you still doing? You had a computer.
Yeah, there's going to be hardware changes. I don't know when that's going to happen. That's for sure. So in the meantime, I'm just sticking with the Sony PS3 that I had from years ago.
Can you record on it?
Sadly, no.
No.
No. But instead, in its place, I'm just going to be using the laptop for any serious work in its place. So that's a blessing in disguise, I suppose.
So you still have your blog, right?
Yeah. The blog and political videos I intend to actually basically upload that stuff. But gaming's off the question for quite some time.
So, for my viewers, do you want to give the location of your blog and your YouTube channel?
I'll do that right now, actually. For my blog, the web address is abzhuofficial.wordpress.com.
Okay.
And as for my YouTube account, I've got a weird URL that I can't remember from the top of my head. But I'll show you the. Hold on. As a matter of fact.
Very, very unusual name of Abdul Hussein.
Yeah. No. If you actually copy my web address, it's just that it has a bunch of random characters. So I can't say youtube.com/XYZ452 in all the different in different cases.
But you can change that, Abdul.
Yeah, I can change that if I have enough subscribers, which I don't. So that's the problem. But
we can work on that. I'll post a link to your YouTube channel.
Thank you very much.
Your blog down below. And
Yeah,
I've
done that in my videos. I've put the links. Yeah, I've done that.
And you're starting a new blog, right?
Yeah, it's there. There's nothing there. I'll get around to it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just motivational stuff like that. It's easy to get.
I think it would be easier to kind of just write, whenever. When you have to sit down and do a video, it's like.
That's how I.
It's just too much information to put in a video sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm not really comfortable talking on camera anyway, and I can't think of my feet very well. So that's why I think the writing would be better. And it'd probably help me with the videos too, I think.
So what's the address going to be? Or what is it? How do you spell it?
It is.
Barbara's.
I know. It's so Aunt BB is a very popular website address for the Blogspot. So I had to make it bi-national Aunt BB. It's bi-national Aunt BB. Yeah. I mean, I'm just Aunt BB, but it's by. I think probably I should have just said bi-national BB, but anyway, it's done.
Alright.
Here's a suggestion.
There is a link, but there's nothing there other than Aunt BB. That's it.
You could have called it transplantedcanuck.blogspot.com.
Well,
What?
Transplantedcanuck.blogspot.com.
I'm not an effing Canuck. What are you talking about?
Oh, transplanted American, excuse me.
I'm not a Canuck.
Transplanted American.
You got that one wrong.
Pulled that one out of my ass, really, but yeah.
TransplantedHillbilly.com.
Is that even? Oh, God.
Well, we are pushing an hour on mine, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap mine here, but we can keep going if you want. But I want you guys to say bye to my audience, and I thank you guys for watching. And please look down below. You'll see links to these guys' websites and their YouTube channels. Everyone say bye.
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 All right,
Okay.
so we're still doing
I'm
yours,
still
so that's
recording, I think. I don't know. I hope.
I'm still recording now.
So,
Yep.
So the last time we did this, we tried to do this. The issue you had was you had your audio, but not our audio. Did you get a chance to run a Skype test and record?
Oh, I
make sure you
did
could
that,
record
and
both channels?
I did that. It's actually working fine now.
I don't know.
You don't
With
know.
me, I don't know for certain. I did look. I followed the instructions, so I think it'll be okay.
Okay.
But I would have liked to have shown websites while we were talking too, but I can't do that until I figure out. I don't know. For now, that's it.
All right.
Kind of funky that, but yeah, it kind of is what it is. What it is.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, there's not a whole lot. It's kind of a slow week in the news. I mean, if Fox Adpocalypse is the biggest news we've got,
Yeah,
it really is kind of a slow week.
that and Julian Assange walking around like a free man in a prison in Belmarsh.
What did you say? It's torture when he loses at foosball. That's considered torture.
Yeah. If I wanted to see, if he was actually tortured,
Security fucking facility.
if he was actually tortured,
The worst is where he's supposed to be.
Is that
His ass is on a foosball table, which part of a foosball table are 8 fucking metal rods and handles they can whip off and use as weapons.
shoot that one of the sticks of his ass, or a taser even. If he was tortured, I expected to hit with a taser up his ass. See men behind him. Who's who wants to
Thank
test
God,
to
I
kill?
wasn't the only one who said, I thought he was on death's door. And other people was like, yeah. How his mother is screaming, oh no, he's gonna die. They're killing him. They're
Or
killing
expecting him in a bed. You don't want to just leave